Hey guys, how you going? Okay, let's get into the news. I was missing yesterday because I was a bit unwell. Still feeling a bit unwell today, so I'm doing a video instead of going live. Okay, Shadow of Ezra said New Jersey U.S. Attorney Alina Harbour delivers a major update on the Jeffrey Epstein criminal case, revealing that investigators are meticulously reviewing flight logs to determine who was on the island without making assumptions, because some people who were on the flight logs were not on the island, regardless of what people want you to believe. And it actually says on the flight logs where they went to, okay? To those demanding immediate arrests, Harbour urges patience, explaining that the process requires thorough evidence review to ensure accountability is achieved properly. She vows they will handle it the right way. And if they do one thing wrong, an arrest might be thrown out the window. Okay, so just hang in there. This is Trump's lawyer too. Okay, now recently there was some stuff leaked that people were saying that Pete Hegseth had a meeting online and a journalist was apparently invited, and the journalist leaked everything. Now, I think that was a trap, okay? I think that was on purpose to see what would happen. Maybe someone else let the journalist in and they're going to look at who did that, okay? So they're going to find all the little leakers, okay? Amberly, oh, wow. Oh, yeah? I don't know. Sorry about that, love. Sometimes the signal leak turns into a flood. Be careful what you wish for. Okay, sometimes a leak turns into a flood, okay? Be careful what you wish for. What would happen if texts originating from the FBI agent to several internals discussed the assassination possibly of the POTUS or member of his family? What if the text suggests foreign allies were involved? Forget the Russia set up one of 22. This is only the beginning. Be careful what you wish for. As the world turns, could messages such as those be publicly disclosed? What happens to the FBI? What happens to the DOJ? What happens to special counsel? What happens in general? Every FBI DOJ previous case could be challenged. Lawless. Think logically. We haven't started the drops, RE, human trafficking or sacrifices yet. Worst. Those good who know cannot sleep. Those good who know cannot find peace. Those good who know will not rest until those responsible are held accountable, which goes for the previous post that I just read about Epstein. Okay, they need to actually make sure that no one's going to get away with anything, okay? They've got to close the loopholes, okay? No one can possibly imagine the pure evil and corruption out there. Those you trust are the most guilty of sin. Who are we taught to trust? If you're religious, pray. 60% must remain private, at least for humanity. These people should be hanging. Is there a benefit, think public optics, to allow your enemy to open the front door? Warlike posture activated? Thank you for playing. I think they've trapped them. I think they've got them. Now this, okay, Julian's Rum said last week Hegseth announced investigation into DOD security leaks. Yesterday, Atlantic journalist publishes Signal chat with Hegseth. Today, Schumer and Dems call for an investigation into Signal chat leaks. They took the bait. Leak investigations go both ways. The Pentagon said it would investigate what it claims are leaks of national security information, AP photo, Charles Darapak. If this effort results in information identifying a party responsible for an unauthorized disclosure, then the information will be referred to the appropriate criminal entity for criminal prosecution. Sorry, I nearly said criminal prostitution then. Where's my head at? Oh, my goodness. Okay. Senator Andrew Bragg said congratulations to Labor here in Australia for announcing the same housing policy 4 times without building one new house. It's a record. Yeah, not only that, in the budget, believe it or not, your taxes are going to go up. Sorry, guys. But yeah, they're going to go up. And they're trying to throw money at everybody. They're thinking if they throw enough money at people, that people might vote for them again. Okay? Now, they're only promising, okay? They're just promising. They did the same thing last time with $275 off your electricity bill. Yeah, never eventuated. I'm still waiting on that one. Radio Europe said breaking news in UK. The Muslim Council of Britain warns that if halal slaughter is banned, Muslims would leave the UK. Ban halal slaughter. There's the answer. Guys, you don't need to fight anyone. You just need to start banning things. Okay, like, what are they called? Hijabs and all them, and halal, you know. You just need to start banning things and they'll go home on their own. Also, it might help for our governments not to give them any government assistance. That would also help to send them home, but no, the government won't do that. Because our governments are socialist governments. The rubber duck said I could be wrong, but I would wager that we are absolutely not seeing the final version of Trump's cabinet, up to and including the VP, at all. That's an interesting take, because I think similar, but maybe not a lot of people, but he puts people forward for a reason. He did it last time. Look at Pence. Okay? He does it for a reason. That's why he put Fauci up front and center last time during his presidency. It had to be exposed. The people had to see it. They won't listen to conspiracy theorists, so they have to see it for themselves. Eagles said, show me a single country where Muslims coexist harmoniously with followers of other religions. I'll wait. I'll be waiting a long time, I'm sure. If you know, put it in the comments, please. I'd love to know if they can actually coexist harmoniously with followers of other religions without trying to destroy those religions and take over. Billboard Chris said, I've already secured lawyers regarding the treatment of me today by Brisbane police officer and the bylaw officer. Now, Billboard Chris is Canadian, and he's come here to Australia to show people in Australia how you're going to be arrested for free speech. Okay, we'll see you in court, he said. Let's go. Go, Chris. Billboard Chris said police in Brisbane have used force to remove me from a public street but declined to press charges. I don't think they want an international incident on their hands. This all happened because a bylaw officer lied and said I was obstructing people's movement in a public square. All I did, as usual for the past 4.5 years, was stand quietly by myself in the corner of the square, having conversations only with those who approach me. He told me to move and I refused because I know my rights. I'm on a public street and I can have conversations. He then issued me with an $806 fine. I gladly accepted it. He ordered me to move again. I declined again. Then the police came. They debated for about 45 minutes what to do with me before eventually saying I would be arrested and charged if I refused to move. I could not agree to their terms with a clear conscience. I refused to accept zealous abuse of power by those in authority simply because I'm peacefully spreading a true message that vulnerable children are being maimed, sterilised and turned into lifelong pharmaceutical patients. I opted not to violate my integrity, so they physically removed me. I believe they know what they're doing is wrong, which is why they then opted not to formally arrest and charge me. You cannot do this. You cannot do this. Anyway, there's 9 minutes worth of this, right? All he's doing is standing there with a billboard. Children cannot consent to puberty blockers. And they can't. If they're not allowed to drive, buy alcohol, smoke, they're not adults yet.
Well, I get criminally charged with what? What's the actual charge?
So, as the sergeant said, she's going to give you an official move on direction, okay? Which will be for the more...
Official move on direction with no charges. That's what it's going to, okay? Now, this is the state of the police, and I don't know who these people are, here in Sydney. I don't even know if they're police officers. This is a fat pig local council worker who lied and kicked this off. Need to find out his name. Who's this person? If anyone knows, please contact Billboard Chris and let him know who this person is. Wow. Yeah, my apologies as a freedom-loving Aussie. Please accept our apologies for this absolutely embarrassing behaviour from my countrymen. I, and I'm sure millions of other Australians, totally support what you are doing. Keep fighting. From the Conservative. Yeah, we have a real problem in Australia. I don't know if you've noticed. Oh, dear God. Okay, US Homeland Security News said update Argentine President Javier Milei orders the release of all remaining documents on Nazis who fled to the country after World War II, including information on Hitler in Argentina after 1945. Oh, go, President Javier Milei. Go. Wait till it all happens. It's going to go from a drip of information into a flood of information, okay? Topher Fields said CSIRO better get its house in order. The defunding of 7 Australian universities so far says US government isn't mucking around. Okay, one of our research departments here in Australia, the CSIRO, who I've been banned from emailing because I emailed them, 15 years ago about GMOs. And I said, look, I'm sick and I think, the food is part of it. So what are you doing? And I ended up saying, well, hopefully you don't get sick from GMOs. That would be terrible to see now, wouldn't it? But not in those words. I actually said, I hope you do get sick then. Sorry. But anyway, okay, let's just get off that, okay? I am not allowed really to email the CSIRO. The Age said exclusive researchers at the CSIRO have been sent a Trump administration survey demanding they answer questions on diversity, gender ideology and whether they're studying climate justice as the Australian government scrambles to respond to US attacks on scientific funding. Trump comes for CSIRO on scientific research funding. Go after them, Trump. Go, go, go. Okay, Catherine Deeves-Morgan said we need brave, large, strong men willing to do violence to keep society safe. Pretending this isn't true only enables those who are dangerous, okay? Now, check this out, okay?
One of my kids go up there. I need to hurry up.
This policewoman cannot stop this man, okay? It takes another man to step out and then other men to walk over. Why is she in this position? She was running away. Look, I love my fellow woman. Don't you worry about that, right? But there are certain positions that certain women should not be in unless they have proven, look, it's merit, okay? Merit over DEI. If she could keep up with the male officers and tackle in the same way the male officers could, or lift her fellow officers out of harm's way like her fellow officers could, then I would have no problem with her being in the police force. But not when you're running away from the criminal. Isn't this the antithesis of what police work's supposed to be? Isn't this the wrong way round? You're supposed to be chasing the criminal, not him. Well, she's actually ducking in his way to try and stop him, but it's not working. Looks like she's just dancing around like a fairy. Sorry, guys. I do believe, look, I'm a bit misogynistic in the fact that I do believe there are certain jobs that women should not do. I'm sorry, but that's how I feel. And it's my opinion only. You don't have to agree with me. In fact, we can agree to disagree. I do it a lot lately. Dr. Simon Godek said cancer screenings were cancelled. Hospitals were overwhelmed. Kids lost years of development. Elderly people died alone, denied visits. Yet they had time to rehearse TikTok dances, while the public suffered under cruel, arbitrary and tyrannical measures. Never forget. Don't you ever forget that this is what they did during a so-called pandemic. Okay, don't forget, ever. Now, if they had time to do this, they weren't very busy now, were they? Like, where are all these dying patients? Oh, don't worry about it. They're just dying while you guys are just dancing around. I get it. Yeah, okay. So, like, seriously? Just so you know, right? This happened in 2020, okay? To try and get people to go along with it. I don't know how it worked with some people. I don't know how some people didn't think, where are all the patients and what are you doing? instead of looking after the patients. Where were all these emergency people dying of COVID? No, they're dying. Too bad. They have to just die because these people are too busy dancing to market a pandemic. Mate, if there really was a pandemic, you wouldn't need to market it. You'd see people dropping in the streets. Now, as for the Chinese people dropping in the streets, back in 2020, I proved that to be fake. Okay? Okay, well, they weren't dropping down dead in the street anyway. And I'm going to keep showing this. I am going to keep showing this until people wake up and realise what the hell they were doing. What is this? Some kind of Indian dance they're doing as well? Looks like Bollywood. What's going on here, man? I don't know if you've ever seen Bollywood before, but this is the kind of dancing they do in Bollywood. Not Hollywood, Bollywood, like Indian Hollywood. Okay? Anyway. Yeah, so certainly had plenty of time to dance, and don't worry about the patients. They can just die inside. Don't worry about them. And that is humour, okay? In case YouTube can't distinguish, in case the algorithm cannot distinguish between me being serious and some humour or sarcasm, that's what that was, okay? Cat Turd said, doesn't anyone else find it hilarious that Teslas themselves are identifying the domestic terrorists, vandalising them? You know that Teslas have cameras all over them, don't you? You're being watched. Okay, and then there was a little voting thing here because it was in response to our Prime Minister. Free GP appointments, free TAFE, even cheaper medicines, cutting 20% off student debt, 150 off power bills. I'm still waiting for the 275 off the last one you promised, mate. And getting more Australians into their own home. Cost of living help remains our number one focus, and Australians can expect to see more in tonight's budget. Why didn't they do this 4 years ago? Because they're promising you the world and give you nothing. Okay, Matthew Kamanzuli said, does anyone believe this? Out of 1,100 votes, I'm going to repost that. 92.7% said no. Who's a 7.3%? Mate, 7.3%, pull your head in. Seriously. Do you know what's going on at all? That's 7.3%. I don't think so. Okay, here we go. Insurrection Barbie said the Atlantic's TDS ownership by Trump haters and history of false reporting. Is this who it was leaked to? The Hegseth operational thing? Because whatever's happened, they've trapped them, okay? I feel like this is time to remind people all about the Atlantic and its questionable journalism through the years. Trump derangement syndrome, TDS, is a term used to describe an obsessive, irrational hatred of Donald Trump that critics say distorts reporting. The Atlantic is often pointed to as a prime example. Trump seems to live rent-free in their editorial board's heads. The magazine's been accused of churning out article after article slamming Trump, often twisting facts or exaggerating claims to fit an anti-Trump narrative. The publication is less about journalism and more about rage bait designed to grab attention. Who owns the Atlantic? Laureen Powell Jobs, widow of Steve Jobs. Through her organisation, Emerson Collective, she's a billionaire, a major Democratic donor, and, importantly, a vocal Trump critic. Jobs has funded anti-Trump efforts, including digital news campaigns in swing states to influence others. Her ownership isn't neutral. It's seen by critics as a megaphone for her political agenda. Fake reporting, a trip down memory lane. The Suckers and Losers hoax 2020. What they reported in 2020, the Atlantic claimed Trump called our fallen soldiers suckers and losers during a 2018 trip to France, citing 4 anonymous sources. John Bolton, Trump's former national security advisor and no Trump ally, was there and said it simply didn't happen. 13 other officials present backed him up. No concrete evidence ever emerged. The Atlantic stood by the story, but critics widely view it as a fabrication meant to smear Trump. The 2024 Soldiers' Funeral hit piece. What they reported. In 2024, The Atlantic alleged Trump raged about the cost of slain soldier Vanessa Gillian's funeral and used slurs, again relying on anonymous sources. These are those anonymous sources. Gillian's family, including her sister Myra, publicly called the story false and defended Trump. Former Trump staffers present also denied it. No hard evidence supported the claims. Despite the family's rebuttal, The Atlantic pushed the narrative, doubling down on the hit piece. The Hair Wet Cemetery Claim, 2018. The Atlantic claimed Trump skipped a World War I cemetery visit in France because he didn't want to get his hair wet painting him as vain. The White House said weather grounded the helicopter a logistical issue, not a personal choice. Official records confirmed this. The Atlantic spun it into a character attack anyway, fitting their pattern of negative framing. Same goes for peeing on Russian prostitutes and everything else they said back in 2016, okay? Reliance on anonymous sources. All three stories hinged on unnamed sources, making them hard to verify. This is a go-to tactic for pushing sensational claims without accountability. No retractions. Even when key figures like Bolton or Gillian's family debunk the stories, The Atlantic rarely corrected or retracted. They stick to their guns, fueling accusations of bias over truth. This persistence, despite evidence to the contrary, points to a magazine more interested in a narrative than the facts. TDS is what drives these people, not the truth. And that's very true. It is. Some people have pretty severe TDS, Trump derangement syndrome, okay? Beware. Kobe Thatcher said, I'll never believe the argument of we need more migrants because Australians won't do those jobs. Australians used to do those jobs. Look, I know Australians who used to go fruit picking, seasonal fruit picking. Okay, now they've got all people from overseas doing it. Our jobs in supermarkets, fast food stores, department stores, etc. used to be filled by young Australians looking for experience, older Australians not ready to retire, or Aussies working a second job to make ends meet. We used to see Australians working in our airports, our banks, hospitality venues, and security positions across the country. Now many of these positions are filled with migrants, some of who can barely even speak English, and God help you if you want some help on the phone. Okay? I've tried. It's not because Australians don't want to work, it's because they can't compete in a job market against hundreds of thousands of foreigners that our country is continually being swamped with each year. And it's also because equal opportunity employment, okay? The government gives subsidies to companies who hire women and people of colour and disabled people, okay? They subsidise those companies with their wages, okay? Right, okay. Now we've got that sorted. The opinionated black woman auntie said, how many houses does this victim own? She doesn't look like she goes without a feed either. Australian Greens Parody, is a parody account, said she is the pity parade that never stops complaining about being a victim. Vote Greens for 6 more years of this insufferable clown show, or if you vote Labor, you're going to get 6 more years of this anyway. This is an Indian Muslim woman who comes to Australia and somehow ends up in our parliament, okay? Listen to this bullshit.
The minute you call out racism or racist behavior, or we try and speak our truth about what we suffer in this workplace, we are shut down. And you know, whitewashing, calling out white supremacy or calling out the racism that happens against women of color in this place by using weasel words like harmony is just disgraceful. I'm sorry, there's no other way to describe it. It's harmony for the white people and racism for the people of color. We will not bear that any longer. The minute...
Well, go home then. If you think it's bad here, go home to your own country and go and work in their parliament, okay? And try this shit over there. So Harmony is now racist. She's an idiot. Okay, Elon Musk posted this because it seems like this car is unbreakable. Okay, he bent his hoe. Holy shit. Or his pick. His pick and his hoe. He bent it. The hoe bent. Oh dear, check it out, man. He's trying, look. but the tool bent. Okay. Anyway, that's a good advertisement for a Tesla. So if you crash, it's not going to be, I don't know, you probably wipe out the other car. Mario Norfall said Columbia student sues Trump admin to block deportation after anti-Israel protest arrest. Yanseo Chung, a 21-year-old legal US resident from South Korea, is suing Trump officials after learning the State Department plans to revoke her status and deport her. Chung was arrested during a March 5th sit-in at Bernard protesting disciplinary action against anti-Israel activists. Her lawyers say that the Trump admin is weaponising immigration to punish pro-Palestinian speech. She's an idiot. Sorry. Columbia folds. Elite university surrenders to Trump demands after $400 million cut. That's one way to go about it. Columbia University just learned an expensive lesson. Ignoring anti-Semitism comes with a hefty price tag. Look, I'm not in agreement with anti-Semitism, but I'm not in agreement with these Palestinians coming here and bringing the bullshit with them. Go home. Old soldier said, I'm old enough to remember our energy grids were designed by engineers, not activists with arts degrees. Yeah, I agree. Now we have renewables and, yeah, not good. Barely any electricity to speak of. The opinionated black woman auntie said, we truly do live in a dystopian, backwards communist nightmare. This is insane. I'm ashamed of what we've let this country become. And Billboard Chris was arrested for having conversations in Brisbane, as we know, okay? I'll keep an eye on what's happening with Billboard Chris, because him and Elon Musk are supposed to be taking our government to court over freedom of speech, okay? And I'm really can't wait for that to eventuate so I can see what happens. Fingers crossed. Topher Fields said you can't ignore reality, but cannot ignore the consequences of ignoring reality. Wind farms being cancelled, geothermal abandoned ages ago, hydrogen on the rocks, rooftop solar now causing problems due to instability. Did I mention our car manufacturers walking away from electrification? USA returning to coal and ESG being abandoned in boardrooms all over the globe. We are watching the death of a global mania, the final throes of a delusion of crowds. What a time to be alive. Plug pulled on 750 million green hydrogen plant. There you go. Concerned citizens said just spotted in the night sky over the UK by hundreds of different people. Anyone got a video clip? What on earth is it? I don't know, but I'm thinking Project Bluebeam. Okay? I don't know. It could be something else, but my first thought is Project Bluebeam. They can make you see anything in the sky if they put their mind to it. Okay. Malcolm Roberts said it continues to unravel. We will eventually get to the truth here in Australia. And then compensation for lockdowns, restrictions, jab injuries, deaths, mandates, treatment for injured people, stop the treatments that they tried to give people, ban future mandates. Herald Sun here in Australia says secret COVID briefing documents used to justify sending Victoria's to the world's longest lockdown will finally be made public after the state government lost its bid to keep it secret. Now, we know the government lost its bid to keep it secret, but this is what I'm interested in. We will eventually get to the truth. Compensation for lockdowns, restrictions, injuries, deaths, and mandates. Okay? Keep an eye on that as well. Clown World said wild expectations. Woman shares a list of how much a man should spend on her. Oh, dear God. Talibans. That's a joke, isn't it? Come on, man. You can't beat Talibans. Are you serious? This sounds like a joke. The minimum a man should spend for breakfast, $50, lunch, $80, gas, $100, brunch. I wouldn't be able to walk out the front door, mate. If I was a man dating this woman, I wouldn't even be able to walk out the front door. Don't worry about it, mate. See you later. Brunch $150, dinner $200, nails and makeup $250, outfit $300, and wig install $400. $40 is never acceptable ever in life. Look, I'd be happy to be taken for a coffee, mate. What, $5 coffee? Maybe they're $10 now. I don't know. But this is insane. This is why I sit in the whatever podcast in the comments sometimes and have a go at the women because they say stupid things like this. I don't know who's feeding young women this. Is it the fairy tales? Your Prince Charming will come along. Newsflash, love. There is no Prince Charming. It's ordinary men, and we are ordinary women. We are not princesses, okay? We are ordinary men and women. And it doesn't matter if you hold one of these little things in your hand, okay? You're still ordinary. Okay, I know it's the Australian Jewish Association, but Labor Minister Tony Burke doing his thing. Last night, attending iftars for the Gaza Association of Australia and the Tripoli Fayhar. Who the fuck is that? Okay. Anyway. Look, I'm not on either side of this. I just don't like innocent people being killed, okay? It's as simple as that. AKA said, breaking, President Trump wants the Fed to cut interest rates. That's interesting. And AKA said, I can't wait until we take Greenland. Who else is hyped? Could there be more reasons for taking Greenland than just what's said on the surface? What a fantastic place. Okay, I just thought I'd throw that one in there. That's why I put this in here. Is there more reasons than what we're being told as to why they want Greenland? Protect it, maybe. I don't know. Anyway. AKA said Ukrainians released a disturbing video of them burning the American flag and the heads of Elon, Trump and Vance. Really? Is that because you stopped getting money? Did the money stop? Is that why the money stopped? How disgraceful. How absolutely disgraceful. Okay, well, that's what Ukraine thinks of the US after giving them all that money. That's lovely. Here we go, okay? This is me, okay, on Twitter. Craig Kelly's Libertarian New South Wales Senate, okay? It's sickening to listen to this lying grifter gaslight the public. No strings attached, he claims, except the string that the rebate is financed by more borrowed money, and that means we'll end up paying for it in the future through higher taxes. And it won't make the electricity bills we're struggling to pay today cheaper. All it will do is partially offset the big electricity prices, which are coming mid-year. Here he is promising $150 off your bill, okay? Well, another $150 off your electricity bill? I haven't received the first $280 off yet. I was going to like my own one then, and I realised it was mine, so no, I won't do that. I didn't like one of I'm going to have to go back and make sure I didn't like Albanese's one either. Okay, Donald J. Trump said unlawful nationwide injunctions by radical left judges could very well lead to the destruction of our country. These people are lunatics who do not care even a little bit about the repercussions from their very dangerous and incorrect decisions and rulings. Lawyers endlessly search the United States for these judges and file suits as quickly as they can find them. It is then the obligation of law-abiding agencies of government to have these orders overturned. The danger is unparalleled. These judges want to assume the powers of the presidency without having to attain 80 million votes. They want all the advantages with none of the risks. Again, a president has to be allowed to act quickly and decisively about such matters as returning murderers, drug lords, rapists and other such type criminals back to their homeland or to other locations that will allow our country to be safe again. It is our goal to make America great again, and such a high aspiration can never be done if radical and highly partisan judges are allowed to stand in the way of justice. Stop nationwide injunctions now before it's too late. If Justice Roberts and the United States Supreme Court do not fix this toxic and unprecedented situation immediately, our country is in very serious trouble. With a capital T. Okay? Reddit Lies said Reddit is furious that the prices at Costco are going down. What the hell? Costco is quietly slashing prices. This feels wrong. I go to Costco every week. It's probably the only thing I do consistently. I've been doing it for years. I know how prices move. Lately, everything's discounted. I'm not talking promo tags or little manufacturer markdowns. I mean whole shelves of items drop 20 to 40% across categories, not seasonal either. Mate, I'd love that. This isn't normal. Prices are supposed to be going up with tariffs, inflation, shipping costs, whatever. Instead, they're dumping inventory. Aggressively, either demand is collapsing or something upstream is forcing their hand. It just doesn't make sense. It feels off. Maybe I'm overreacting, but I've never seen price drops like this since I started going. If this is what it looks like at Costco, the most stable, boring, buy-and-bulk fortress of consumerism, then I don't really want to know what's coming next. Maybe it's nothing, but probably not. What the fuck? Why would you complain about prices going to... Look, this person's going to find out the hard way, right? Trump's good for you. Anyway. Yeah, the people won't be told. They've got to be shown. Okay. Jim Ferguson said, I won't make my kids fatherless for Starmer's war. Britain's react to troop deployment plan. Adam Brooks. Prime Minister Keir Starmer is preparing to deploy British troops to a war-torn region as part of so-called peacekeeping force, but the backlash at home is fierce and growing. Parents are refusing to send their sons. Veterans are warning of chaos. Experts call it dangerous and premature. One father said it best, I will not make my children fatherless fighting on the front line for Keir Starmer. This isn't a peace mission. It's an open door to war under the leadership of a man whose own military priorities are being called into question. MI6 former chief has warned against it. Nigel Farage said the public will erupt. And Starmer charging ahead anyway. Ask yourself, why is Starmer pushing for foreign wars while the UK faces crisis at home? Maybe to take the focus off the crisis at home. Send all your men to war so the Muslims can take over. Why deploy peacekeepers abroad when we can't even secure our own borders? The people weren't asked. Parliament wasn't consulted. Yet British lives may be on the line. This isn't leadership, it's recklessness. Say it out loud. We won't die for Starmer's globalist ambitions. And pretty much that's all it takes. Say no. Don't do it. Okay, Sadia said, what do you call them? What do you call it when someone hears the truth, sees the truth, but still believes the lies? What do you call them? You don't. Okay? You don't call them. Okay? Let them call you. And then agree to disagree with a lot of the things they say. Oh, this world's become a really funny place, guys. I'm telling you now. Elon Musk said, no wonder our national debt is so high, we're sending money to everyone on Earth. Peterson Ong, PhD, said emergency meeting as Doge cuts to fund Australian universities. Is anything on the left not on the US taxpayer dime? Yeah, and Elon Musk even said, no wonder our national debt is so high, we're sending money to everyone on Earth. Okay? And then if they discovered other planets with life on them, they'd be sending money there too. Isn't that what Elon said before? Someone did anyway. Senator Babbitt said the modern West operates as matriarchy, where nearly all institutions function within a feminine framework. Even its so-called male leaders are weak, submissive and devoid of masculine strength. If we do not push back against this imbalance, Western civilization will crumble. Make no mistake, we're on the brink of collapse. Yep, people have to be shown, they can't be told. Then you've got this, okay? I'm just going to remind people of this again. I know I've discussed this before a few years ago. And poor Justin Bieber, okay? After what did he put him through wasn't enough, okay? Concerned citizens said in 2022, global pop star Justin Bieber developed Bell's palsy. Also in 2022, his wife Hailey Bieber suffered blood clots leading to a stroke. Both were fit, young and healthy prior to these random medical episodes. This news was barely covered at the time and left fans extremely concerned and puzzled as to what was happening. I think you all know why. That was pretty much after a certain procedure was mandated. Sorry. Okay, True Blue Rebel said Australia desperately needs a Doge. Peter Dutton pledges $8.5 million to support Australia's first Hindu school. Look, I think he's been put up there to be exposed, right? I think there's someone else in the Liberal Party who's ready to step forward and is actually a good guy. That is if, hang on. I've been listening to this guy on, he is representing the Liberal Party. He's all right, man. James William Patterson, okay? Look him up on YouTube. He is a member of the Liberal Party, okay? We need more people like him. I'm telling you now, you go and listen to him. He grills them. And he tells them. So I think maybe Dutton's up for being exposed. You know how Trump does things, right? Puts people up to be exposed. Yeah, that kind of thing. Okay, now this conundrum. Mick Amias said, not that I like Peter Dutton, but if Dutton loses, Albo wins. Let's say with a Greens-backed coalition. How stuffed do you reckon the country is? Oh, it's going to be absolutely forked. Okay? I don't like Peter Dutton either, but for God's sake, if Albo wins and the Greens with the Greens, oh my God, we're in trouble. That's why I'm probably more hoping that he's been put forward. But according to what Trump does, they do get put forward to expose themselves, right? And then someone from the back comes up. So I'm just hoping that would be James Patterson running for the Liberal Party, because then I would vote for them. If he was running it, I would. Go and listen to him on YouTube, okay? He's been doing this for years. Go and listen to him. I don't always agree with him, but most of the things he is doing for the people, you can tell. Unusual Wales said Breaking Canada has issued a travel advisory to the US, saying that Canadian visitors to the US who stay more than 30 days could face fines and misdemeanor prosecution. The government of Canada cannot intervene on your behalf, it said. Germany and Britain have also issued warning. Oh, my God. Like, seriously? Oh, dear God. I'd be going to the US. Okay. Mila Joyce said, name one thing the government does efficiently. Launder money. Another thing they do efficiently is their underqualification. They do that efficiently. Obfuscating, they do that efficiently. Well, not efficiently. It frustrates the hell out of me. So I'm serious. Go and watch Senator James Patterson. But the one thing the government does efficiently is fuck everything up. Once the government gets involved, everything goes sideways. Okay. Now, we're at the point now where I can't tell satire from the truth with this, so just take it with a grain of salt, okay? Spesna 007 said just in. British MI5 have found a Russian passport next to the burnt-down substation at Heathrow Airport. A deliberate act of war by Putin. I think it's actually fake, to be honest, but, you know. This is how bad the news is. The news is getting absolutely ridiculous. I don't understand how people can't see it, but some people can't. And, yeah, the news is so ridiculous that I wouldn't be surprised if they did something like this, okay? Just like those 9/11 passports, you know, they found from, yeah, those ones. I don't know. We should make everything out of these materials that the passports are made out of. They seem to be flame-proof, fireproof, explosion-proof. Anthony Albanese, don't let me like this one, said news, we will fully fund every school in Australia. He's going to send Australia broke. And he's promising things he cannot deliver. Okay? This man cannot deliver anything. Two things. Fully funded is meaningless. It's an entirely shifting rubbery figure. The more we spend, the dumber kids get. Okay? Everything the government gets involved in gets worse. We'll use taxpayer money to fund woke indoctrination centres. Fixed it for you. Yep, there you go. What a tosser. Okay, Liz Churchill said this is how it's done. Who elected George Soros to dictate public policy? Soros and his cronies hit a brick wall in El Salvador. Thank God the Salvadorians are immune to this influence. No one believes his lies anymore over there. President Bukele. Way to go, guys. Keep going. We're behind you. Go. LT Australia said City of Whittlesea Council corruption update. See, some of our councils are corrupt and we're finding out. This is the slow drip, okay? Elected Mayor Aidan P. McLinden remains locked out of council offices by unelected and corrupted woke left-wing commie bureaucrats aligned with the Labor Party. Aidan is being blocked from exposing all the rampant corruption, but the rotting and the waste that's happening not only within his council, but many other Labor-aligned councils, which are the base of Labor's pyramid of corruption. Yeah, we all need to look at our councils. I'm sure they're all corrupt. Unseen One said once the tariffs go into effect on April the 2nd, the US trade policy will be changed for a very long time, if not forever. It's an inflection point. This is a very big deal, and I don't think most people understand the inflection point we're about to make. Some of the big money understands, hence the trillions pouring into the country. We are switching from using trade policy to push foreign policy to using trade policy to push economic policy. China adopted our type of trade policy with its Belt and Road to drive countries into their sphere of influence. We were losing with that trade policy because we couldn't match slave labour, automation in manufacturing and government controlling the private sector. Even though with open borders driving down wages and more government control of the private sector with regulations, we tried. Trump is totally abandoning that policy and that losing war. He's starting a whole new battle using our middle class to fight it, increasing our middle class with protection tariffs, securing our border to increase our middle class wages, using those wages and the increased purchasing power to make the USA the place to be to soak up supply. The revenues from tariffs will allow taxes to be reduced, creating more demand. China cannot match that demand because their middle class doesn't have the means, and their government will never allow their middle class to amass the means. It's totally opposed to Marxism to have a rich, vibrant middle class. As we know, governments in general, once they latch on to a new revenue stream fighting to end, it is a multi-generational battle. See income tax. April the 2nd is going to be game-changing. Okay, then Topher Fields said, hey, Aussies, I hate to break it to you, but between their Maoris doing the haka in front of pride parades and their Deputy Prime Minister talking sense like this, New Zealand is making us look silly right now. Don't tell them I said that, though. They'll never let me live it down. Okay, let's have a listen. Well, who's this?
Their policies would close down large sections of our economy to satisfy their globalist view of the world. But New Zealand First is a true nationalist party. To where we want to get to, we first have to deal with the plethora of malignant policies enshrouding our nation and stopping progress. We're going to declare a war on woke. And long live common sense. It's one of the most concerning and insidious cancers in our society today, the underlying creep of woke social engineering. This seeping of the leftist groupthink and condoned by too many on the right has been mostly hidden from society in the way it has implanted itself in New Zealand. Now, about Paris 2016. In October 2016, the National Party signed up to the Paris Accord, setting targets that some of the world's largest economies have no intention of honouring. That means that no matter what we do, our sacrifice will make no difference. Worse still, in trying to honour our commitments, $22 billion plus of our hard-earned taxpayers' money will be siphoned offshore in a total self-defeating economic and climactic shambles. It's just common sense that instead of draining our money offshore into foreign economies, we invested in looking after our own environment.
Yeah, New Zealand first for New Zealanders, Australia first for Australians, England first for England, Ireland first for Irish, and so on and so on. Germany first for Germans. The whole lot, all of us. Canada first for Canadians. Okay, real AF patriot. I don't know if that's what it actually means. Hold the line, patriots. All of us have been antsy for the hammer to drop, but we will remember this time, the time before we knew the next big scene. This is historic. The calm before the storm? What happens when a blockade threat is dismantled and removed? You'll find out. Children used as shield, manufactured crimes of perjury, fire at will, Commander. We got one chance at this. I 117% believe in this operation. All of us have been antsy for the hammer to drop, but we will remember this time, the time before we knew the next big scene. There you go. Okay. Gary Brecker has an interesting theory here. Mind you, all of this is theory until proven fact, and everyone mentioned is innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Gary Brecker said eczema is not a skin condition, it's a gut condition showing up on the skin. Readers added context. Eczema, the most common variant being atopic eczema, is a dermatological condition, is widely caused by multiple triggers. Refer to article. What article? The NIH? I don't know. There are other variants such as venous eczema as well, and usually not believed to be as gut condition. Okay? I'm sure Timmy can let us know next time he's on. Wyatt said, I found a CIA trail on George Clooney that's pretty cray-cray. He's all up in the Council on Foreign Relations. What's so funny is that George Clooney's directorial debut was the film Confessions of a Dangerous Mind, which was about a game show host, Chuck Berry's secret career as a CIA agent and assassin. Donald J. Trump said, why would the now highly discredited 60 Minutes be doing a total puff piece on George Clooney, a second-rate movie star and a failed political pundit? He fought hard for Sleepy Joe's election and then right after the debate dumped him like a dog. Later, I assume under orders from the Obama camp, pushed all out for Kamala, and he soon realised that was not going to work out too well. 60 Minutes even fraudulently inserted fake answers into her disastrous interview, aired just before Election Day, in one of the most embarrassing and dishonest events in broadcast history. And now George Clooney again? His press agent should be making a fortune. Yeah, we'll never forget the pictures of George Clooney and Barack Obama with the little Asian girl on a boat. That little Asian girl didn't look too good, mate. Dr. Eric Berg said, how can 20,000 IU of vitamin D be toxic if 40 minutes of sun exposure provides the same amount? Or maybe it's in the delivery. There's people in the comments going back and forth. As a doctor, this is a silly assessment, respectfully. Different absorption means different half-life, removal, digestion, reaction. 1 pint of Guinness can help someone low in iron, especially women on their period. A man that guzzles Guinness can end up overdosing on iron. Sunlight triggers vitamin D production, but the skin naturally limits it. Oral supplements bypass this with no off switch, risking excess levels and calcium buildup. That's why 20,000 IU from pills can be toxic, even though sunlight may produce similar amounts safely. It isn't take it with K2. Okay. I wouldn't recommend any of this. I was just very curious and interested, and maybe this is a question for Timmy. So what I'm going to do is put it in medical for next time we got Timmy on, and see what happens. Yep. Okay, the Yorkshire lass said, so in the last week or so, unions are cutting as many as 50,000 jobs, civil services are cutting as many as 10,000 jobs, and the NHS England is going to be abolished within 2 years with a 50% reduction in staffing. Not forgetting back in September 2024, 179 HMRC tax office workers were sacked for serious breaches of workplace conduct. It was also reported last year that the annual total amount of taxpayers spent on the phone, the time taxpayers spent on the phone waiting to speak to an HM Revenue and Customs advisor is more than doubled to the equivalent of almost 800 years. The reason being that there's never anyone there at the HMRC to take calls. There's no staff. On the 4th of April 2024, it was reported that tens of thousands of people are facing crippling tax demands from HMRC for tax their employees failed to pay. It's an injustice that's been compared with the Horizon scandal. There's been so much exposure the last 3 years, and on top of that, there's been a major cyber attacks on the NHS, HMRC, various banks, etc. I feel this was about information extraction and evidence. Also to show people not to depend on the system. HMRC will eventually be abolished, like all the other corrupt, unlawful money laundering companies. And you want to tell me that nothing's happening here in the UK? Let me tell you, Doge, and the dismantling of the corrupt systems here in the UK is now going full steam ahead. It's been happening for years. We are witnessing the dismantling of the old guard in real time. Now it's becoming more clear every day that we are heading into a golden age. We just need to send all those people back as well. The opinionated black woman auntie said, right, so if the debt is our fault, then they won't mind me rocking on into the parliament with other taxpayers as my budgeting wingman to fix the damn budget they blew out. Useless bastards couldn't balance a seesaw, let alone the economy, whereas we, the struggling public, most certainly can. We do it every week. Sky News Australia said the Albanese government has shifted the blame for its near $1 trillion debt onto the Australian public after years of blaming the previous Liberal government. Of course, just blame the people. Don't worry about yourself and your money laundering or your, stealing of the taxpayer dollar. Just, blame the taxpayer. Not giving you enough, are we? Clandestine said, for those who claim Israel Mossad control the US CIA, I believe you have the hierarchy incorrect. It's more like a non-governmental secret society cabal, and they control elements within the CIA, Mossad, MI6 and other intelligence agencies, governments worldwide. They are just different tentacles of the same beast. As for who exactly controls the beast, that is up for debate. But this narrative that Israel controls the US or that Mossad controls the CIA, I believe is a gross mischaracterization of the situation. The cabal existed before Israel did. The cabal is not tied to a nation. It exists independently. While nations and regimes fall, it survives in the shadows and seeks to dominate the globe via infiltration and subversion. Israel is just one tentacle of many. However, control of the US is without a doubt the cabal's most powerful asset. The CIA is the most powerful tentacle of this beast. Now, what do you think about that? I actually put this one in to see what you think about it. I agree, actually. I actually agree with it. I don't think Israel is the head, but Israel is last anyway because I believe that's one of the most corrupted places. Because they were, the Rothschild and the Rockefellers, they got... Wasn't the Rothschilds? Was it the Rothschilds that wrote the Balfour Declaration? Or was it the Rockefellers? Okay, my memory's like a sieve right now. Anyway, they don't have any loyalty to any country, let me tell you that right now. They will use every country to their own benefit to get what they want. Okay, Elon Musk posted this. Let's have a listen to... Oh, better turn the volume down on this before I start. Okay, let's have a listen.
Is President Trump still calling for the impeachment of Judge Boasberg in this case, despite what Chief Justice Roberts said yesterday?
Of course the president stands by his comments, absolutely, as do we all, as does the entire administration. You cannot have a democracy where single individual district court judges can assume the full total powers of the commander-in-chief. Even on the Supreme Court, it takes agreement of 5 Supreme Court justices to change a federal policy. 5. A single district court judge out of 700 cannot set policy for the entire nation, let alone on national security and public safety issues. The president's been clear that he has tremendous respect for Justice Roberts and believes it's essential the Supreme Court crack down and stop this assault on our democracy from these radical rogue judges that are usurping the powers of the presidency and laying waste to our entire constitutional system. Last question.
Is President Trump...
Those judges should be charged. According to me, anyway. Okay, Sid Dowling said, could someone explain how the closure of a 2.9 gigawatt, 16,012 gigawatt high inertia power plant supplying 25% of New South Wales demand can be replaced by 700 megawatt, 2,800 megawatt hours battery with up to 4 hours of dispatchable power? Oh, no, don't do that to me. Yeah, it can't, actually. Okay, I've been learning about megawatt hours and things and megawatts and stuff. Would this even run a freaking house? I don't think it would. Oh, no, maybe megawatt. Yeah, megawatt. No, sorry, kilowatt, I'm thinking. Maybe. Okay. Yeah, but not for long. 4 hours of dispatchable power, guys. Oh, wow. Watch New South Wales this winter freeze when they turn the electricity off. Blair White said, need Elon to buy Pfizer so we can watch Liberals become anti-vax. For the plot, you know. For the plot of the movie, you know. That would be interesting. Elon needs to say he loves oxygen so that they, you know, don't breathe anymore. He loves breathing and oxygen. That's what he needs to say. They might do the opposite. Jack said, wait a minute, is she onto something? Alyssa said Trump should identify as a female. Liberals will either have to accept him as the first female president or admit the absurdity of gender ideology. He could play with them so much right now, right? Avi Yamini said Karen caught red-handed. What's she hiding? E-safety chief reported to police. Legal experts say she likely broke the law by using WhatsApp, disappearing messages to dodge FOIAs, audits and subpoenas. Huh. Sounds a bit like Hillary in the, you know, I don't know. Anyway, take action now. Sign sack Karen to hold her accountable. I will when I'm done because I'm going to have to put my name in there. LT said Victoria Labor spill incoming, unconfirmed rumour. Bendigo Barbies, political days may be numbered. Hi, mate. Ben Carroll, Steve Brax and Cos Samaras are spotted meeting in South Melbourne on Saturday morning. Maybe the challenge rumour is true. We don't know. It's just a rumour at this point. Hopefully, Bendigo Barbies' political days are numbered. Ghost Cypher said, I asked Grok 3 what the significance of April 2nd was in history. This was its response. The Coinage Act, most notably the Coinage Act of 1792, established the US Mint and created a decimal-based currency system with the dollar as the main unit, divided into 100 cents. It defines coins like gold eagles, silver dollars and copper cents, setting their metal content and weights and establishing a 15-to-1 gold to silver ratio for bimetallism. Coins were made legal tender and counterfeiting was punishable by death. Later acts modified this system, but 1792 was foundational. Donald J. Trump has said April the 2nd, Liberation Day in America. Oh, I'm looking forward to it. Ooh. I'm excited. I don't even know what it is, but I'm excited. Okay. Billboard Chris again. Okay, he's on his way to Australia. I believe he's here for a lawsuit anyway with Elon Musk against Karen. So, yeah, they'll get all sorts of, like, lefties coming and, you know, maybe having a go. I don't know. What are they saying? We'll have to find out.
When we're having a rally about male violence, why would it be the time to be transphobic?
So it's always a good time to have conversations. I didn't even know this.
Oh, yeah, she said transphobic. Why are you being transphobic? Right, okay. That's Australian universities for you as well. Real AF Patriot said the plan is the plan. The timetable is the timetable. Nothing has changed. You believe in it or you don't. Simple as that. The plan to declass and show people was mapped out long ago. Pam Bondi's making moves on behalf of and in the direction of POTUS. Remember your oath. Yeah, look, remain steady and ignore the noise. Although I'm reporting on most of the noise, we do know this is playing out how it's supposed to. Okay, the people have to be shown. They cannot be told. Kobe Thatcher said Pauline Hanson has announced One Nation will abolish the $4.5 million National Indigenous Australian Agency. No treaties, no voices to Parliament, no native title claims or land transfers to Indigenous corporations. This isn't controversial. This is just common sense. Yeah, it's pretty much common sense. News Treason Channel 17 said, I'm hopeful by now people can understand why this story has been deployed for the seeding of public consciousness. Does the public at large understand the US was never truly free from the Crown? Does the public understand the three-headed monster comprised of City of London, Vatican and DC? Does the public understand the entire US monetary system, legal system and even our birth certificates have been under the ownership of the Crown? Does the public understand that the key to our sovereignty and true freedom is coming through the destruction of this system? The answer is, of course, no. How do you start a conversation? Through created controversy. We've seen this tactic deployed over and over again in this fifth-generation narrative war. Trump knows exactly what he's doing. If you see people getting upset by this, then good. It means the design is working. Trump suggests US could join British Commonwealth if offered by King Charles. I'm thinking he's going to pull a queen or a king out of his ass. I don't know. People think Lady Diana Spencer or Princess Diana is still alive, okay? If she was to be still alive, she has more right to the crown than what Charles does and the royal family currently, okay? Julius, I don't know. These are just my thoughts coming on here. But he is playing like he's doing this. He always does this to get people's attention on these type of things before we find out exactly what's going on. Okay, Julius here said your periodic reminder that a cow cannot add a single atom of carbon to the atmosphere that wasn't previously removed from the atmosphere by a plant. So cows cannot increase atmospheric CO2, they merely recycle CO2. It's not a new source of carbon. And without cows, bacteria would over time rot plant fibres and return the exact same amount of carbon to the atmosphere. But grazing cows help grass sod fix carbon in the soil, thus increasing soil fertility over time. The climate crusade is built on scientific fraud, and many of the proposed solutions like reducing cows are directly causing much of the soil degradation and forest fires because of ungrazed fuel in the forests. One sec, guys. Sorry, I had to have a cough. Which activists and dishonest scientists then blame on climate change, okay? So if we let cattle go through the forest, right, there'd be much less on the floor to burn, okay? Okay, Rosita Diaz said the husband of Kooyong MP Monique Ryan has been filmed removing a sign depicting Liberal candidate for the Inner West Melbourne seat, Amelia Harmer, arguing that the core flute was on public land. The Teals MP's husband, Peter Jordan, is shown bickering with the man filming him about his actions and refusing to give his identity in a video that surfaced online this morning. I'm taking the sign down, Jordan said in the video. Then asked why he was removing the sign, he said it's on public land. The exchange reflects the tight election race taking shape in Kooyong, which Dr. Ryan won from former Treasurer Josh Frydenberg in 2022. And her husband has been taking the opposition signs and running away with them. Okay, I believe charges should be coming, but I'm not sure if they actually are. Okay, even Craig Kelly's asking, Libertarian New South Wales Senate, why would the USA give $500 million to Australian universities when they are indoctrination centres for Marxist ideology and breeding grounds for hatred of America? And what chance would Kevin Rudd have convincing President Trump to reverse this decision? It's just another example of how the Labor and Liberal Party have failed Australia. Albanese weakness in his failure to recall Rudd and Dutton's support for Rudd to continue as US ambassador when it's counterproductive to Australia's best interests. The Libertarians call for Rudd to be recalled immediately. As for as long as Trump is president, Rudd's presence in the USA as our ambassador is detrimental to Australia. Prime Minister urged to call emergency meeting after Trump administration cuts funding to 7 Australian universities. Hello, Mr. President. Hello. Is anyone there? It's me, Kevin. Kevin who? Kevin Rudd, you know? No, we don't. Cillian said Breaking Island's Director of Public Prosecutions is now considering charging Conor McGregor with incitement to hatred for posts he made on X back in 2023. If convicted, he faces up to 2 years in jail. This is Trump-style political persecution and election interference. American AF said just in, Liberals are calling for AOC and Bernie Sanders to make a new party. Fight oligarchy. Hello? Are you... Oh, my God. Okay. Rosetta Diaz said spread far and wide. More than $500 million spent on Albo's referendum. The Australian Electoral Commissioner, Tom Rogers, has revealed to Senate estimates that the cost of Anthony Albanese's failed referendum is in the order of $522 million spent on holding the 2022 federal election. Wow. Wasting more money. Okay, Cat A said, whoa. Amanda Rose just spoke the quiet part out loud on legacy media, slamming Australian politicians for following the globalist lockdown playbook during COVID, which resulted in untold and unnecessary suffering. Noting they are desperate to hide the fact they didn't have any say in it and were just following orders. She even managed to give a shout-out to Senators Robert and Rennick, who are rarely seen mentioned on Sky News, for trying to push the truth out, at which point the topic was quickly wrapped up. Now, this is Sky News Australia, okay? But they don't want to mention Senator Roberts and Senator Rennick, okay? They're rarely seen or mentioned on Sky News, and they cut it when this woman said what she said. Okay, let's have a listen.
Number one in Melbourne. That lasted 43 days and was the first of 6 lockdowns. I mean, horrible things in your life, yes, you just shut them out, don't you?
Well, I know the government wants us to, because they want us to shut up and not ask for information and not find out what really happened. And people are still suffering from that. And that, I find it quite insulting that a lot of governments, not just Victoria, a lot of them just say, oh, look, let's move forward, let's get on with it. It's kind of like when someone cheats and said, oh, let's save the relationship, let's just move forward and forget it happened. No, people are suffering. Small businesses shut down as a result of those shutdowns, and they haven't built themselves back. And we've got families, everyone is suffering from this. And it really irritates me that government is quite arrogant by not sharing information when they're supposed to be sharing information. They're not being transparent about it all, because the reality is they were told, here's a global playbook, shut down everything. They did it, and they don't want everyone to know that they didn't even have a say in this. They were just following orders.
Amanda, why do you think we were so compliant?
Because we have weak leaders in this country, that's why, right? No one can actually stand up and do the right thing. Everyone's too scared of being voted out or, you know, rejected by the globalists who might give them a job opportunity if they follow the rules of what they're supposed to be doing. I feel like no one's got any heart, any empathy, any compassion, any soul or any spine, and that's what we're left with. And now it's really highlighted what we went through, and the people don't care, because how can you be a politician right now and not constantly be pushing for this? I know Malcolm Roberts and Rennick push for this. How can you not be pushing to find out the truth of what actually happened? Because it is there and it will come out.
Okay.
5 years since.
And they have, if you watch also Gerard Rennick on YouTube and Malcolm Roberts, you will see them. You'll see them questioning about the about COVID. Catherine Deeves Morgan said a nation that crams in 1.4 million plus foreigners in less than 2 years, leaving many citizens homeless, but then pretends these newcomers have no effect on rents, housing and infrastructure, are guilty of treason. Okay, and Retard Finder, most requested international find, Adam Bant, the Greens Party, Australia. Adam Bant finally made it officially a retard. Okay, and this one, Kyle Becker breaking, Jessica Abba, a Biden attorney, has been found dead. Wonder if what Clinton had to do with that. Okay, Senator Babbitt said China is laughing at us. We shut down our country, exported our future prosperity to them. Things need to change. We need leaders who put us first. This is why I'll be voting for the trumpet of patriots at the next election. And this is Senator Babbitt. And he's voting for Trump patriots at the next election. Pepe Deluxe said, imagine when the Diddy, Epstein, FBI, CIA, Mossad, blackmail rings are fully exposed, probably suicide weekend shortly after that. JetBlue, perverted pilot accused of child exploitation, fatally shoots himself in front of rush hour crowd. We shouldn't be doing what you're doing then, should you? Okay, Illuminati Bot said, you thought Epstein's Island was the only one? Keep digging. Richard Branson hosted, allegedly, traffic and cult events on his private island. He was friends with Diddy and Epstein. Okay. So Richard Branson, he was even crowned by the Queen, knighted. Yeah. Okay, Marie 17 said P. Diddy case is far from over. Charges keep being added and added. Necromancy is one recent one. P. Diddy's attorney, Anthony Ricco, has quit the case. He represented Osama bin Laden in the past. This is going to be a bumpy case. Who was Diddy's lawyer inside the career of Anthony Ricco, the man who represented Osama bin Laden? Won't even represent him. Donna Marie, Diddy's white parties, right? Sean Diddy Combs' lavish white parties marked the peak of his life, right? Drew Hernandez says, so the new Snow White ends with a perverted Diddy white party. Diddy used to hold degenerate celebrity parties where attendees must wear all white for entry. They know exactly what they're doing here. This is how the Snow White ends, apparently. I don't know. Okay. So there you go. That's the news for today, guys. I hope you have a good morning, afternoon. Oh, hang on. I was going to say something. Coming up in the next few weeks, I may have to have a few days off here and there because my daughter's sister from another mother is going into labour and my daughter wants to be there for her. So when that happens, I'll be going down to look after my mum and the grandkids and everybody and my dad and everyone, okay? So, yeah, over the next couple of weeks I might be a bit here and there, but I will be here as much as I can be here. Okay, guys, I hope you have a good morning, afternoon or evening, wherever you are, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye, guys.